Many of us, we have an understanding of the need or the custom of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We also know about Shastra or Vedic scriptures. When we read the Vedic scriptures and we find time to read diligently, to in detail, even minutest detail, we find various emotions let us say, human emotions being reflected in the scriptures. And it is through such descriptions and day to day events in the life of various personalities that we get inspired to have our own practices of spiritual upliftment. So, this is helpful. It is very helpful to find inspiration and motivation for regulated practice, for regulated spiritual practices. Human emotions range from the joy and pleasure of the known or the surprise and happiness of the unknown to fear and anxiety of the known or unknown or despair. So many, an entire range of emotions are there. And many such emotions are very surprising to us. Like, as a reader, we get impressed. Oh, these emotions can also manifest. Maybe because we have a standard idea of what spiritual practices are. Somehow or the other, we find it easy to establish standard practices. I remember one of my friends, when he came to the ISKCON temple for the first time, this was many years ago, about 25, 30 years ago. So he was really shocked because all of a sudden, about 40, 50 devotees, or maybe a little more, they started jumping up and down in Kirtan. He was really shocked because his idea of community temple was coming there, sitting down in deep meditation, peace and quiet. Then on another occasion, I had another friend. We were visiting a temple, a very old, let us say, traditional temple. When I say old, means it has been around for centuries. So we go there. It's a huge temple, and after 4 or 5 minutes, this friend of mine becomes very fidgety. So I ask him, "Is everything all right?" He says, "I feel like dancing because everyone there is standing very quietly and they're making their offerings very quiet. Even children are like very quiet." So he feels a little uncomfortable. He's like, "I feel like dancing." So I said, "What can, you know, well, if you feel like dancing, dance." So he starts clapping his hands and chanting and dancing. Four security guards come, they take him out. They tell him, "Sir, we understand that you are very devotional, but dancing we do in this area outside, not right there in front of the altar, the sanctum sanctorum." So, and if you're never ever, if you have kind of grown up in another part of the world where you're not exposed to Krishna consciousness, in fact, you don't know about Vedic culture, then seeing people offer dandavats, you're really scared. What is this happening? They're like, did they have a heart attack or something? Why did they have, so all of them fall down like that? So, there are certain practices. If we have been exposed to those practices, then that is how we try to view any practice in any part of the world. Hence, if you see something different, it could be a pleasant surprise. Yes, pleasant surprise. So today, I would like to describe certain events from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'll leave it to you to be surprised or not surprised or no. Be totally still, whatever. So this event, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, happened thousands and millions of years ago. Some great personality of the previous century said that at least in India, they have the conception of time that goes back millions of years. They have that conception. Whereas in the Western world, it is since the time of the caveman that they can only understand time as. Like you will tell somebody that Brahmaji lives for 411 trillion years. They're like, what? How did you figure out trillion in those times? Now the figure trillion about, according to present day science, about 5,000 years ago, that is what they date the scriptures to be as. Doesn't make sense. Trillion? And we are like, Brahmaji is 411 trillion years. He lives. So this happened during the time of a previous Manu, Satya Yuga. There were two brothers. They were the sons of a very decent gentleman. His name was Kashyap. However, these two sons, they somehow or the other created a lot of problems in the creation. Their names were Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. Now, Hiranyakashipu had a son. His son's name was Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu tried various ways to kill Prahlad. Now, the Srimad Bhagavatam describes that the other Puranas describe that Prahlad had other brothers too, but in the Bhagavatam it seems that Prahlad is the only son. So Hiranyakashipu was a very powerful man, very, very powerful. In fact, if Hiranyakashipu were there today, he could have told the clouds, go away, and the cloud would have gone away. That is how it is explained. If he wanted it to be summer, it would be summer. If he wanted it to be winter, it would be winter, according to his desire. So Shukdev Goswami, who is the orator here, who is speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam, he wants to impress us, the audience, the Shrota, the listeners. He wants to impress upon our minds the power of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu could not harm Prahlad at all. In fact, Prahlad did not even have a scratch on which Hiranyakashipu could ask somebody to put a band-aid or something. Did not even have a scratch. He did not have any injuries. And he tried everything from pushing Prahlad under a truck. I mean, there were no trucks then, but he pushed Prahlad under the feet of a mad elephant. He threw him down skyscrapers. I mean, there were no skyscrapers then, but tall mountains. He tried to drown him into the deep oceans. He tried all of that. Not only was Prahlad unharmed, there was no symptoms on his body, no signs on his body that he had ever been tortured. And that made Hiranyakashipu really mad because he wanted the world to know that he could harm another person. Sometimes it's very important for people who feel that they have power to let others know that they can harm them. In India, especially North India, in the हिंदी लैंग्वेज से तुम्हें पता नहीं हम क्या कर सकते तुम्हारे साथ, जानते नहीं हो हमको. You have no idea what kind of harm could befall you. I'm so powerful. So Hiranyakashipu was really mad. And finally, he decided to confront Prahlad, which he thought would be the final confrontation. And towards the end of that confrontation, Nrsimhadev appeared, the Supreme Lord. He appeared from a pillar. half man, half lion. Sometimes I wonder why they say half man, half lion. I mean, it's perfectly all right because even in our books we say half man, half lion. Because for me, half would be torso upwards, but Narsingadev only. His chest was of a man, arms and legs. He only had the nails, the claws of a lion, and the face of a lion. Narsinga. Nrsimha. Yes, but still, all right, half lion, half man, half lion. So he appears. Now he manifests such anger. There's so much of intensity and emotion in his anger that Hiranyakashipu, for the first time, he understands what it means to be at the receiving end of anger. Because it was always Hiranyakashipu who was the most angry person on the planet. The first time he faces such intensity, such emotion, that Hiranyakashipu is shaken. Still he fights, dies a glorious death. Now Lord Nrsimhadev, you know how anger is. Anger is like a tornado. It takes some time for it to settle down. So Nrsimhadev is still angry. You know, when you're angry, let's say you're angry and you have let out your anger, and as people tell you, drink some water, be peaceful, you're like, give me some time, give me some time. So now Hiranyakashipu is dead. People want Nrsimhadev to drink a glass of water and cool down. But who would offer him a glass of water now? That was a problem. And if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, it kind of makes you feel that the narrator and the people who are interested in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they really have a good sense of humor. It's amazing because you expect, or we expect, religious texts to be all about being very, very focused, serious, not distracted, grave. So the Srimad Bhagavatam describes Evam Suradaya Sarve Brahma Rudra Purasarah Nopayatum Ashakan Manyu Samrambham Sudurasadam. It says that Evam, thus, then, the Devatas, Sura Adi. So, the Devatas, the beings of the heavenly planets, survey. So, everyone had bought tickets to this show. So, all the heavenly planets, the controllers of the heavenly planets, the Devatas, they had all come to Hiranyakashipu's palace. The heavens were empty of the controllers. They were all here. Survey, Suradaya survey, and they were led by none other than Brahma, Rudra, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were also there. And they see Nrsimhadev. No paetum ashakan manyu samrambham sudurasadam. They see that now Hiranyakashipu is dead, so they are happy. But sudurasadam, none of them dared to come forward before the Lord. It is their Lord. They had prayed to the Lord, please, dear Lord, you please come and help us out. Please remove the terror in the form of Hiranyakashipu. And they see Hiranyakashipu there. They should all have started clapping their hands and like, all glories to Nrsingadev. They are all quiet, very quiet. They don't want to step forward. In fact, they're hiding behind each other. They're like, I don't want to be seen by Nrsingadev right now. Because within their hearts, they feel that what if Nrsingadev mistakenly takes them to be the associates of Hiranyakashipu? They had seen Nrsingadev just swiping his hands like that. Just as sometimes you do that swipe right, swipe left thing. So nothing, Nrsingadev he's just swiped his arms like that. And there were dozens of associates of Hiranyakashipu strung on his nails. I mean, that is really gruesome. These demigods are not of faint heart. But when they saw that, and he just did this, because they were all rushing towards him, so he just kind of waved his arm to push them away, and they got all stuck onto his nails. Those nails were so huge. Huge nails. And Nrsingadev is not like, my hands, they're so heavy. He's like, still, his arms are up. So when the devatas see that, they're like, they feel within their hearts that maybe there is no discrimination here. Does that happen sometimes? If there is a personality amongst us that we really revere a lot, like really worship them or really respect them a lot from a distance, and then somebody has to garland them, you're like, you go, you go, you go. And anyone who is finally anointed to bell the cat, finally anointed to go and garland, that person practically shivers. Because somewhere there's the fear that what if I don't do it correct? Maybe it is an aparadh. Now, Nrsingadev is quite angry. And when you're angry, you do things that basically is destructive. Nrsingadev is kind of still going around trying to find any other members of this dynasty, of this kingdom that had troubled Prahlad. Nrsingadev had a scanner. He was scanning people. Like some of those sci-fi movies where aliens come and they start scanning you. And they scan you. And if you're red, then you're gone. If you're blue skinned, some color like that. So Nrsingadev was scanning. Is this Prahlad pro or Prahlad against? He had that scanner on with him. So he was kind of scanning all those places, looking around. Is there anyone left that had wanted to hurt Prahlad or had intentionally hurt Prahlad? So the demigods, they say, Every other incarnation, whenever the Lord would perform pastimes, the demigods are always there to cheer on the Lord, whether they are behind the clouds or in the sky or anywhere, except for this pastime. Now, Shukadeva Goswami, he sees his audience like really enjoying. So he says, wait, I have something more to tell you. This is not all. साक्षात् श्री प्रेषिता देवैर दृष्ट्वा तं महदद्भुतम् अदृष्टा श्रुता पूर्वत्वात् सा नोपयाय शंकिता नोपये या शंकिता. The demigods, the devatas, led by Brahma and Lord Shiva, they turned to Mother Lakshmi, Sakshat Shri. Preshita, they requested her, Drishtvatam Mahat Adbhutam. Dear Goddess of Fortune, this is her husband. Please give him a glass of water so that he gets pacified. Adrishta, Ashruta, Purvatvat. Lakshmi ji is like, nowhere on my timeline have you seen a form like this. And I have been with him since ever. We have so many pictures of us together. But nowhere on my timeline, adrishtva, ashruta. Nor have I heard somebody else say that, hey, have you seen this picture that I took of Nrsimhadev, your husband? He looks really handsome in this, isn't it? She's like, I haven't seen this form ever. So she's also not very, very comfortable coming forward. Not very, very comfortable to approach the Lord. There is a couplet that would be helpful in this situation. खोया होए तो फिर मिले, रूठा ले ही मनाए, पर मिला नहीं फिर ना मिले, तासो कौन बसाए. This is Avadhi. खोया होए तो फिर मिले. If something is lost, then you can get it back. If you lose something and you search for it, you can get it back. Rootha, lehi manaye. If someone is not agreeable with you, if someone is unhappy with you, you can try to pacify them. It may work. पर मिला रहे फिर ना मिले. However, if you have something, but you don't remember that you have it, तासो कौन बसाए? Then what can you do? So, all of us, we are convinced that we have to somehow or the other re-establish our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So re-establish means it's lost, it's forgotten. But is that true? Where is the Supreme Lord? If we accept the Bhagavad Gita, then the Supreme Lord is right there within our hearts. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha vishto. I am situated in everyone's heart. Now, are we trying to say that we have forgotten a relationship with our heart? Is that even possible? So then what are we trying to re-establish? Somebody will say, oh, we are trying to re-establish a lost relationship with the Lord. But is it really lost? Because He is right there in the heart. Srila Prabhupada would say, in a similar context, he would say that if somebody is sleeping, then you can wake up that person through sound. So you tell the person to wake up and the person wakes up, right? So if somebody is sleeping, you can wake up the person through sound. But if someone is pretending to sleep, then it is very difficult to wake up that person. How many of us have been in that experience where we are trying to pretend to sleep and someone is waking us up? Did we wake up? No. But were we asleep? No. So, par mila rahe, that which you already have, fir na mile, but you think you don't have, what can be done about it? You cannot do anything about it. Now, here are the Devatas. It was they who had requested the Supreme Lord to appear, and the Supreme Lord has appeared in a particular form, and the Devatas somehow or the other are not having that. They're not feeling comfortable approaching the Lord. So either the Devatas have not practiced Krishna consciousness like we practice, because we find it very easy to approach the Lord. Or maybe there is a lesson herein. Many a times, in different congregations, they put up a drama on this. Sometimes they show the Devatas and this particular episodes. Many a times you don't. But when they project this particular aspect of this pastime, it seems to be very frivolous. They say, oh, no, we will not go. No, no, no. Lakshmi says, I don't know him. And everyone has a good laugh. But try and imagine. This is their worshipable Lord. And somehow or the other, they don't feel comfortable approaching the Lord. They're not saying this is not our Lord. They're not saying that we are not the Lord's servant. But they still feel there's a gap, there's a distance between themselves and the Lord. Mushkile. You know what is mushkile? Difficulties. Okay? Share. मुश्किलें होती हैं आसान. So you understand? आसान. What is आसान? मुश्किलें होती हैं आसान. The difficulties are resolved. मुश्किलें होती हैं आसान बड़ी मुश्किल से. मुश्किलें होती हैं आसान बड़ी मुश्किल से. आदमी बनता है इंसान बड़ी मुश्किल से. So trying to resolve the challenges that we face in this material world, we really have to sweat a lot. And it's like never ending, isn't it? And trying to make a Homo sapien, a human being, is also a difficult task. And a Homo sapien tries to become a human, there's a lot of effort that needs to be put in, correct? आदमी बनता है इंसान बड़ी मुश्किल से, ढूंढने वालों को मिल जाते प्रभु, पर लेकिन ढूंढने वालों को मिल जाते प्रभु, the Supreme Lord. So if someone is really wanting to approach the Supreme Lord, take shelter of the Supreme Lord, then the person finds shelter, right? ढूंढने वाले को मिल जाते प्रभु, पर लेकिन आंख करती है पहचान बड़ी मुश्किल से. The seeker finds shelter of the Supreme Lord ultimately. However, the eyes of recognition of the Supreme Lord takes a lot of efforts. To recognize the supremacy of the Supreme Lord takes a lot of efforts. Ask anyone, what is the goal of life? They'll say, chant Hare Krishna. Ask anyone, how should you pacify your mind? They'll say, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then they tell you that this is the best way to be happy. And then everyone still finds difficulty being happy chanting Hare Krishna. Why is that? आंख करती है पहचान बड़ी मुश्किल से. So Lakshmi ji is seeing her husband, but she is also not feeling comfortable. Isn't it? Now Srimad Bhagavatam describes Brahmaji approaching Prahlad. He says, Prahlad, the Lord appeared out of his intense affection for you. Please, you approach the Lord. So when Prahlad was requested by Brahmaji, although he was a little boy, Shukdev Maharaj says, although he was a little boy, he accepted Brahmaji's instructions. Now, there's a pun here. You know what's a pun? Either Shukdev Maharaj is saying, those who have children, they know how difficult it is to make children accept your instructions. So he says, Prahlad, although he's a boy, he accepted the instructions of Brahmaji. Or when children sees something that is, which they feel is a danger to them, they'll never listen to anyone. Adults, at least you can bribe them. You cannot bribe children. So although Prahlad is a boy, still he accepted Brahmaji's instructions. And he proceeded towards Narsingha Bhagavan. Now when Lord Narsinghadev, he saw Prahlad Maharaj prostrated at his lotus feet, he became so ecstatic in affection. He raised up Prahlad. Remember those nails? Those nails? He raised up Prahlad. Can you imagine Prahlad amongst those really enormous nails? Think of Prahlad like that. Try to imagine it. The Lord placed his lotus hand on Prahlad's head. And these very hands that had been described as death personified for the Daityas, for Hiranyakashipu and gang, Shukdev Goswami says, Adadhat karam bhujam kalahi vitrast dhyam kritabhyam. He says, Kara ambuja. He says, lotus like hands. Imagine a lotus with claws. It's so beautiful. This is poetry. What poetry does is it it makes even the gravest of hearts feel emotive. That is what poetry does. So karam bhujam kalahi vitrasta dhyam krita bhayam. These are the Lord's lotus hands that grant fearlessness. So a question can be asked, why didn't these hands work with the Daityas? So the context here is these hands are soft like lotus petals for those who are favorably inclined towards the Lord, and the same hands are hard like a thunderbolt for those who are unfavorably inclined towards the Lord. As soon as Prahlad is blessed by Narsinghadev, do you know what happens? Please hear carefully. This is this will be really an eye opener once again. I say once again because we must have read it, we must have heard about it previously also. But it would again rejuvenate our spirit. When Narsinghadev placed his lotus hands on Prahalad, Prahalad was completely freed of all material contaminations and desires. Devatas had the opportunity to. Somehow they felt uncomfortable. Now it would be really an understatement if we feel that, oh, because we are also practicing devotees, so Narsinghdev's lotus like hands is also on us. Devatas are also practicing devotees. In fact, the Lord answered their prayers. So their practice is very sincere. And amongst the Devatas are Brahma and Shivji also, Mahadev. Because the verse mentions that. And there is Lakshmi ji, the goddess of fortune there too. So basically, if we face the form of the Lord, the Ugra form of the Lord, would we be able to identify our relationship with the Lord? Or would we a little uncomfortable? This is a litmus test. I mean, yes, there are various ways that we can certify ourselves to be doing well, or there are others that can certify ourselves to be doing well. I think the Devatas also had a community like that. But Prahlad here shows that he is the only one. At this point of time, he is the only one At once, Prahlad becomes spiritualized, transcendently situated. Symptoms of ecstasy manifest in his body. His heart is filled with love, his eyes flowing with tears, and he was completely holding the Lord within the core of his heart. When Shukdev Goswami is trying to explain this, is he trying to make the point that this is the benefit that you get by receiving the touch of the Lord, which basically means that would it be possible for someone without uh, without having such reciprocation with the Lord, would it be possible for somebody to hold the Lord within their heart? If not, then holding the Lord within the heart badi mushkil se. Prahlad tries to pacify the Lord with prayers. Nrsimhadev is feeling happy with Prahlad, but still breathing heavily. So Prahlad tries to pacify the Lord. He offers prayers to the Lord. My dear Lord, you are so kind and merciful. I was born in a family where there's no opportunity to to express your feelings for you. There was, in fact, you are stopped from expressing your feelings, one's feelings for the Lord. Despite that, you accepted whatever moments of remembrance I had, you accepted that, which basically means that you actually are a saragrahi. You look for the essence. Here are the devatas. Here is Mother Lakshmi. They are more qualified than me. I had to stay with my parents. I had to stay in this family. All of their association rubbed off on me. Somehow I tried to remember you. You took that as my complete surrender. It is your magnanimity. Shukdev Goswami, he now, in his narration, he is repeating Prahlad's words. Please hear out what Prahlad is saying and think in the context of today's presentation. That if one has an important, let us say, a very, very important object or person in life, but somehow or the other one does not remember it or one fails to remember that, what a great misfortune it is. Prahlad says, my dear Lord, you are that Supreme Lord who's never conquered by anyone. You are undefeatable, unconquerable. I certainly am not afraid of your ferocious mouth and tongue. your eyes bright like the sun, or your frowning eyebrows. I do not fear them. I do not fear your sharp, pinching teeth. I do not fear your garland of intestines, your mane soaked with blood, or your high wedge like ears. Nor do I fear your tumultuous roaring, which makes elephants flee to distant places, or your nails, which are meant to kill your enemies. These are the various aspects of the form of the Lord that the others are seeing, who are on the side of the Lord, and they are fearing, they are having some fear in their minds. And this is what Prahlad is also saying, and he has absolutely no fear in his mind. How did that happen? What is it that makes Prahlad so different?
I. You said I, the ये आँख है, so जो उसकी पहचानने वाली आँख, तो you could see the God in everywhere. So he from every time, even the on that pillar, he could see Vishnu there, right? That's why Hiranyakashipu asked, "What do you see here? Do you see God here? You know, your God." He said, "Yes." Probably he's seeing God in his nails and everywhere.
Thank you. So, are we suggesting that Lakshmi ji is not able to see that?
They're seeing as a whole personal problems.
What about Brahma ji, Mahadev ji? So, should I just let that rest? Would you like to think about it? Okay. That's important. The point that you touched is very important. Eyes. Eyes that help you see. There are these eyes that help you see the external world, and you also need the eyes to see that which is subtle. So those eyes are described as Gyan and Vairagya. That is what any book of sadhana will describe. Gyan and Vairagya. You need these two ways of seeing every action that you perform, every thought that you have. Through the eye of Gyan and through the eye of Vairagya. What is Gyan? Gyan is that which helps you identify everything that is needed for any action to be performed. And what is Vairagya? Vairagya is that which helps you identify all that is unfavorable. All right? Is it possible that one can have eyes and still have difficulty of vision? Is it possible? How is it possible? Physical eyes. If you have physical eyes, the eyes are, they are functional. Functional eyes. What is the situation in which the eyes can have difficulty in seeing? Maybe altered vision.
Even cataract.
So there are two options here, darkness and cataract. Which is a better option to be considered? where functional eyes would have difficulty in seeing things.
Darkness.
What would happen to eyes with cataract in darkness? Would we be able to see? What would happen with eyes with cataract in light? Limited vision? Altered vision? What would happen to eyes without cataract in darkness? What would happen? Lack of vision? Very less vision? Similar to eyes with cataract? And what would happen to eyes without cataract in light? What kind of vision would be there? Good vision? So, which is a better situation? Which is a better option? Again, I ask. Of the two, which option can explain deficient vision? With cataract, without cataract? Does it matter darkness or no darkness? So, cataract is a better option. So, if you have cataract of the eyes, there's going to be some deficiency in vision. Similarly, if one has cataract of the subtle system of vision, there is going to be deficiency in understanding. If there is cataract of Gyan and cataract of Vairagya, one is going to have deficient vision, altered vision. Is that all right? So, what is Gyan and the cataract of Gyan? Gyan is when you can see the relationship of that which you want to act upon. Have clarity about it, isn't it? What is cataract of Gyan? What does not allow you to see that although you have functional eyes, although you have the capability of properly understanding the relationship of various objects and things and persons so that you can perform your activity or dharma. What is a cataract of Gyan that does not allow you to do it properly, that causes some deficiency? Dvesh. Dvesh. Born of various reasons. You know what is Dvesh? You know what is Dvesh? Dvesh means that you are uncomfortable with somebody else's position and status. You are uncomfortable with somebody else's position and status, which basically means that you are no longer analyzing your own position and status. Your analysis is based on somebody else's position and status vis-a-vis you. That is such an altered sense of existence. Because now your happiness, your sorrow, your anxiety, your fear would be based on the other person's status and position. So, what is Dvesh? Dvesh is rather than seeing things through your own facilities, through your own senses, you try and see it through another person's existence in your life. And being uncomfortable with another person's position in your life or another object in your life. I really hate that car. And then you'll go on for the next 2 hours about it. Hare Krishna, I mean, really, that car is really bad. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. The best chanting you're going to have, because that is when your rounds will be complete and you won't even know about it. Like, oh my God, every time I chant, it takes me hours. It feels like kalpas have gone past. And today, hating my car, I never even realized one day of Brahma seemed like just a moment. An altered sense of achievement. Dvesh. So Gyan is challenged by dvesh, feeling jealous, feeling unhappy, uncomfortable with someone else's existence within our lives. It's not that they come into our lives, we bring them into our lives. And Vairagya, what is Vairagya? Detachment. Gyan is knowledge. What is Vairagya? Detachment. How is detachment considered to be good vision? Because detachment allows you to be very productive. People think that detachment means completely renounced, but that is not Vairagya. Vairagya does not mean completely renounced. Vairagya means giving up unnecessary attachment. The root word is rag. Viraga. Raga means attachment. Viraga means no unnecessary attachment. But then we simplify things a lot, isn't it? So for us, Vairagya means renounced. I renounced my house. I renounced my bank balance. I renounced this. I renounced that. And everyone is like, oh, such Vairagya. So unnecessary attachment. I have renounced this, I have renounced that. Well, if it is necessary to announce it to the world, you can announce it. But if it is not necessary, why announce it? Why make an announcement about it? How does the world even care? But we feel that the world would be different if we don't make an announcement. So unnecessary attachment has to be given up. That is called as Vairagya. And what is the obstacle? What is the cataract for this eye of vision? No. Gyan is dvesh. Vairagya is rag, attachment. Attachment to the things that you have detached from, especially. Um, Parents of teenagers. We are completely detached. Krishna is teaching a detachment. But every single day they are asking every other person that they know, what should I do about my child? But when they come to some association like this, they're like, my God, teenagers, they really teach you detachment. So dvesh and rag. Hence Krishna says, raga dvesha vimuktestu vishayan indriyaishchara. Because rag and dvesh, they are obstacles to Gyan and Vairagya. And why do I say Gyan and Vairagya? Because in the Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Gyanam Cha Ahetukam. For those who are engaged in Vasudeva Bhakti, for them, knowledge and detachment easily comes to them. Easily comes to them. Yes? So Prahlad, here in this description, he goes on to pray to Lord Nrsimhadev. He says, Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe kamabhikamam anuya prapatam prasanga kritvatmasat. This word is very, very, very important. All right? Kritvatmasat surarishina bhagavan grihita soham katham no visrijeta vabhritya sevam. There are two words by which he is addressing a particular personality. One is Sura Rishi. Actually, three: Sura Rishi, Bhagavan, and Bhritya Seva. Bhritya. Tava Bhritya. And with these words, he is addressing Srila Narada Muni. Now, this verse, when it is translated, the Bhavartha translation, when from our Vaishnava perspective, when we give the translation, we say that Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Narsinghadev, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, your servant Narad Muni kindly accepted me as your disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? So we say, from the Vaishnava perspective, Bhaivartha, that this is in relationship to the spiritual master, which is correct. However, the verse is also very generic. It speaks about Hiyasa, the great personalities. It speaks about great personality. And what is the quality of a great personality according to Prahlad Maharaj in this prayer? Kritvatmasat. He trained me to become just like him. He made me just like he is. Please understand this. Many a times when we take this verse and other verses in relationship to the spiritual master, then the underlying emotion that many of us may carry is that the spiritual master saves us and brings us to the lotus feet of Krishna. So, all the onus is on the spiritual master. We are simply unqualified people to be picked up by the spiritual master and brought to Krishna's lotus feet. However, there are many other references in scripture, especially if you read the Bhagavad Gita and the prayers that are offered as invocation. Then the description of the spiritual master is somebody who gives you the eyes of knowledge. What is the difference between the two? When we take this relationship with the spiritual master as somebody who's going to bring us from one position to another position, from the material world to the spiritual world, we are basically saying that all the work will be done by the spiritual master. And when we understand that the spiritual master gives us all the tools to come out of the material world, and hence we are grateful to the spiritual master, then we realize that we have to work as much as the spiritual master worked for his own emancipation or her own emancipation. Mahajano yesa gatha sapantha. Ye na gatha sapantha. Gatha. Following the footsteps of the great personalities. If the spiritual master could perfect their lives through their practices, through serving the orders of the previous spiritual masters, then we can also fulfill our lives by our practices. So, does it mean that we are capable of achieving perfection by our practices? Yes. However, there is a catch there. Those practices are guided, they're guided practices. But ultimately, it is our practices. And therefore, Prahlad says, my dear Lord, I would like to simply serve your servant. Tava bhritya seva. Why? Because this personality, he helped me achieve this position where I can see your ferocious tongue, I can see your nails that bring about death to all the enemies, and I still am completely in love with you. This position is the position of Narada Muni too. This position is the position of so many great personalities too. And how does one have that kind of position? Kritva Atmasat, when we follow the instructions that we have received and try to perfect those instructions. So for most of us, our primary instruction is to chant the holy names of Krishna. We are trying to perfect our chanting process. At the same time, we are trying to also be perfect in so many other things. Now, it's perfectly all right to multitask. However, our primary task, we should always remember, is to perfect our sadhana in the form of chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Can I, if you allow me, to rephrase your आदमी को इंसान बनाना बहुत मुश्किल है. That's what you said. Right?
No. I said
आदमी को
आदमी
आदमी को इंसान बनना.
No. I said आदमी इंसान बनता है बड़ी मुश्किल से.
बड़ी मुश्किल से.
So it's not banana मुश्किल है.
Yeah,
It says, so what we are trying to say is that you have to really work hard to be a good human.
Correct. Yeah, but I would like to rephrase it a little in a different way, because मुझे इंसान, I become इंसान इतना मुश्किल नहीं हुआ मेरे लिए. Okay, because of the practice that I have been doing with Hare Krishna. So it is not difficult for me. It is इतना मुश्किल नहीं है मेरे लिए. But what I found difficult is जो मेरे आसपास जो लोग हैं, आदमियों को इंसान बनाना मेरे लिए बहुत मुश्किल है. That's the only problem I see. Not with me. I'm good. But my family, my wife, my kids, my neighbors, all around people, Trump's followers, all these connected people.
Except us, right here.
Yeah, except here, everyone else, these MAGA people and all that. How to make them insan?
All right. So how do we? Is there a way that we can help others become good humans too? I think what the poet here is trying to express is that every individual has their own journey. We may want to try and offer help and facilitate their journey. However, every person, they travel their own journey. It is a birthright in one sense for every person to have their own journey.
But as a
We can try and facilitate. However, trying and facilitating, it would be the most comfortable way of facilitating another person's journey in life is to see if they can be motivated to have their journey in a positive way, which is a difficult, it is really hard work. You can push someone physically, or you can make them, or through some institutional norms, you can push them, but you can push them only so far if they are not personally motivated. So here, the poet is trying to bring out that point of personal motivation. He says, आदमी इंसान बनता है बड़ी मुश्किल से. He says, anyone who has become a good human has done it through a process of sacrifice. That is the intent of the poet here. So those of us, or maybe even in our community, if we find somebody who's a good human being, we have to realize that they have put in a lot of sacrifice to be where they are as good humans, which is very respectable. Yeah.
The second observation, you mentioned cataract of eyes or cataract of eyes. There was an incident at North Korea. So some of the eye doctors, they visited North Korea. So people they have that cataract.
Yeah.
So they operated upon a number of 4 people mostly. So they did not have eyesight for a long time, but then operation was successful. So now they started seeing. But the first thing they did, they ran to that statue of Kim Jong and Kim Jong, we got our eyesight because of you great dream. So that signifies that how much cataract people are having, even physically now. But that despite clear vision, did not see that, they did not see the doctors. This is really what they were told. How do you explain? It is very clear, but people are so insane that they did not see, even with their eyes.
So, from what we understand of the political situation in North Korea, there is a very strict institutional format there. The way of governance is very institutionalized. This shows us the power of narratives. If you are within an institution and you have not seen anything outside of the institution, or you have consciously or you are forced to cut yourself off from everything that exists out of the institution, then most probably you never realize that you have the option to see, understand, and choose various narratives. Those who are outside that institution of governance, they have that facility. They understand there are various narratives. They understand that there are certain institutional norms, there are certain democratic norms, there are norms which interchange, and other norms too. So they have that facility because they're exposed to so many narratives. Within an institutional form of governance, you're exposed to very limited narratives. And therefore, your source of knowledge, your understanding of existence is limited within those narratives. From their perspective, they understand that these doctors have come here only because they were allowed, given visa, allowed to enter the country, controlled by this institutional head. They also understand the narrative that if somehow or the other they get misled, thinking that somebody else can be glorified, then they have negative repercussions. They're simply doing what they understand is the best for their survival. And this is the power of narratives. So if we hear from great realized souls, then the power of those narratives, we can see how it affects someone's lives. Like when we hear from Shukadev Maharaj, Vyasadev's writings, we hear from people whom we consider to be very respectable spiritual personalities. The narratives affects us. Oh, they have told us to wake up in the morning. I'll wake up in the morning now. And others are like, oh, do you wake up to bring down your cholesterol or to reduce your weight or to be healthy? And we are like, no, we take the benefit of Brahma Muhurta. Chant Hare Krishna. So narratives. Buddhi, the intelligence, should be sufficiently groomed or should be sufficiently fed so that we can analyze which narrative seems to be a little longer lasting, which could be everlasting, which narratives has a sense of eternity in it, because that narrative would be very helpful. So therefore, we when we read the Vedic literatures, we accept the Vedas because it has a sense of eternity there. And if somebody tells us there's no need to wake up in Brahma Muhurta, we're like, no, 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 no. And if somebody does wake up in Brahma Muhurta, we just go and worship that person and then we worship Krishna. Krishna, thank you for sending this person to wake up as in Brahma Muhurta. We also run to Krishna, isn't it? Our institutional head. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you for such a so nice class. So you just dropped the point, right? So I read Prahlad Maharaj saying that despite of his spiritual figure of Lord Vishnu and the nails, but he could understand that loving relationship with the Lord, and that is the same position of his spiritual master, who is Sri Narmani. So then, Srila Narmani has a spiritual master, Lord Brahma, and there we see that that three bona fide sampradaya, spiritual master means most spiritual master there is Shiva, Lord, Lord, Lord
Brahmaji, Shivaji, and
so why he
Lakshmi.
not scared? Means if Prahlad Maharaj did not get scared, and he's saying that he's the same position of my spiritual master, so why all those most exalted spiritual masters they got scared to approach Lord Vishnu?
It's perfectly all right. Just because they're spiritual masters doesn't mean that they cannot be fearful. Mother Yashoda becomes fearful. Where is Krishna? Having fear is not an deformity. I'm just saying that we were trying to describe this incident, that how Prahlad in this situation is a little different from them. And the difference is Prahlad never ever felt that Hiranyakashipu, he did not have any stakes in Hiranyakashipu's existence. The others are stakeholders. Narad Muni also did not have any stakes in Hiranyakashipu's existence. Therefore, when Prahlad was still in the womb, Narad said, hey, you can come and live with me in the ashram, no problem. So if we have stakes in this material world, then the material world, it works the way it is supposed to work. It has a beginning and an end. Is that helpful? So here Prahlad, some other situation, Prahlad, we see that in Bali Maharaj's case, Prahlad also comes and says, my dear Lord, whatever you do is best. And Bali, so he's having his stakes there too. Comes there, isn't he? You read in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But then, that is what we do. We do not expect these people to be picture perfect according to our imagination. What we expect these personalities to be is surrendered, or at least from our understanding, show us what surrender is. From our understanding, our perspective. We cannot claim that we understand that they are surrendered people. But whatever helps us to make progress. So we never, at least the Vedas never, Arjuna, he kind of challenges Krishna. You said Bahuni me vethitani, but aparam janma vivasvate. Vivaswan has taken birth before you. Aparam bhavato janma. Your birth is along with me. You appeared when I appeared. You gave this knowledge to Vivaswan? How is that? This is the beauty of the Vedic society. You're allowed to express your ignorance. You're allowed to express that you have some confusion, even if it is in relationship to the Supreme Personality of God. The freedom is there. Most of the other faiths, even if you speak about having that allowance, it's like sacrilege. How can you even think about it? So what can we do? Vyasadev's writings are like that. If we read, then that is how it is. So it's very accommodating. And maybe that is why some people who want to justify certain insincerities that they have, they say that it is so confusing. It doesn't directly tell us what to do, because that helps us justify our insincerity. Narad Muni also had the same knowledge. He heard from the Mahabhagavatas as a little child. Do you think they spoke something different from what Vyasadev must have written? This is what I understand, is that it must be something similar. But he chose to be sincere in his practice. So I can also be sincere in practice. We can be sincere in our practices. Yeah? All right. Yes. And then you? All right?
You spoke about attachment.
Yes.
Is there a methodology?
A methodology for detachment? Yeah, there is. One Srila Prabhupada, he was trying to explain detachment. And he explained it through a simple example from maybe his timeline, the culture that he came from. He said, if you have rotis in your hand and someone comes and offers you puris, to receive those puris, you have to empty your hand. Do you think twice about letting go of the rotis? He said, no, because puris are much better than rotis. Therefore, you let go of the puris, you let go of the rotis and you accept the puris. So detachment, and the methodology for detachment is to have attachment to something higher than that which has lesser attraction. You easily give it up. Param drashtva nivartate, Krishna says. Rasavarjam, give up this. Rasaptas, param drashtva nivartate. Is it all right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhu, I had little confusion. So I was hearing from the middle, so I couldn't attend from the beginning to we started. So you were saying Lakshmi Devi. So she also had no vision of such Lord Nishinadev's appearance, such fearful, ferocious appearance. But we see in Golabrit, in spiritual atmosphere, in the spiritual kingdom, there is one planet for Lord Nishingadev, and Lakshmi Devi is his eternal consort. So how is this possible that she never had this?
Very nice question.
Yes.
Well, you see, Narsinghadev has various forms, and each of these forms are eternal forms. So there's not just one planet of Narsinghadev. Theoretically, there can be many planets of Narsinghadev, because each of these forms are eternal forms. If you go to our temple in Mayapur, we have a form of Narsinghadev there. Do you know what form it is? Urgar Narsingha. I'm not sure if we have Lakshmi Devi there, but we have Prahlad there. So in this eternal form, Prahlad is with Nrsimhadev. All right? These are eternal forms.
I have a small question here on a similar topic. What I heard that Brahmaji, even Lakshmi Mata, they all did request Nrsimhadev to calm down, but Nrsimhadev did not calm down. Only when Prahlad requested, he got pacified. The reason he denied everybody's request except Prahlad, because he appeared because of to protect Prahlad only. So not for this all the deities, just for Prahlad he appeared. So he wanted to make sure that to tell the world that I am for the bhaktas and I do everything as for the bhakta.
Correct.
Right? That was the thing. So didn't he basically Lakshmi Devi also requested for like Nrsimhadev to come now? That was my question for last time.
All of these, let us say, these are called as Bhavarth Tikas, commentaries, are based on Vyasadev's writings. So, if we look at what Vyasadeva has written, he says that when Lakshmi ji is approached, she says that this form, Ashrutva Adrishtva. She says that. So one commentary is that you can take it literally. Another commentary is that Adrishtva, Ashrutva means he is still not accepting a proposal. So I have never seen him behave like this. That is a commentary, and we can have so many tikas. No problem with it. And the Lord can manifest himself. The Lord is like a diamond. Different people look at different facets of the diamond and they see the diamond exhibiting different qualities. Isn't it? So like that. Now coming to the point of something that you mentioned is the Lord specifically came to protect Prahlad. Is it possible that the Lord could have picked up Prahlad and taken him away from this scenario? What was the necessity of killing everyone? So there is some stakes in this for the demigods too, because he was definitely troubling them. So the Lord is a multitasker. And to say that he only appeared for one particular purpose is one's own devotional perspective, and it's perfectly acceptable. There are other devotional perspectives too. Is that all right?
100%.
Yeah. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.